Recording so we can share this expert marketer meeting on our Zoom channel for anyone to see if they've missed it. So, um, welcome. This is the expert marketing meeting number 4, I think, in the new format. Today we have a topic around GVA cannibalization and the problems that I was going to say paid media faces, but really the problems that we all face as a digital marketing agency that offers full scale solutions. And that problem today that we're going to be discussing is really the competition that exists in cars.com, car gurus, and other third party listing sites that live in the automotive space. So, I wanted to share some of our findings really on the paid media side because that space is so important ever since Google Vehicle Ads launched in March 2023. Um, oh,
Hello?
oh, Shane, we can hear you. I think you're on there twice, actually. Okay.
Yeah, I just sent out a reminder invite to all the sales team, so I
Oh,
think
good
a few
stuff.
are
Thanks,
already here.
Kev. Looking out. Appreciate you. Um, yeah, so you know what I did today? I put together just to be transparent with you guys, I started to put together a slideshow in conjunction with Stephanie to kind of give you some stats on what we're facing in the GVA space. So I wanted to share that today. My perspective on how it relates to a few different departments. Number one, I'll talk about Kev and the sales team. How it relates in these departments is in the sales department really is how you approach maybe the sale in the first place or the communication with with our current book of business. Hey, Mr. Dealer, we're facing a cannibalization issue with some of these third-party sites that we know as a car dealership is very important to you when it comes to gathering leads. We want to cover as much of the internet as we possibly can to get in front of the folks that are looking for cars on your lot, and we want to show as many impressions as possible. Client success team, this could affect you by possibly taking this information and sending out some sort of informational email in which I'd be more than happy to help with. Maybe we ask Cam really nicely or someone on Cam's team to make the email really pretty, or maybe a PDF to make it super organized and deployable for our current clients. And then paid media, we've already talked about this pretty frequently, how it affects our bidding and how it affects our cost per click and how it affects our impression share. And I know Stephanie probably has a few comments on that too, that we can discuss, but I'll go ahead and get into our slideshow right here to share some facts. So here's the problem right here. So, I just kind of alluded to the competitive space that is GVAs. And this is just a reminder for everybody. What is GVAs? This is the Google Vehicle Ad space, which is all location targeted. So for me, sitting in Denver, Colorado, my listings might look pretty similar to Shane's, but the listings are coming from Boulder, Greeley, some more Boulder, Littleton. And the thing to look at is actually the line above the location copy. That first line here, this first listing is from Fowler Jeep. The next one is from Ken Garf. Third one from Fowler. Looks like Fowler's kind of killing it. And then, we see these AutoNations pop in. AutoNation, another one, Car Gurus, AutoNation. So they're infiltrating that space because there is a product within these third-party offerings that say, hey, Mr. Dealer, because you list your feed with us, which is the same feed that's on their website, that's processed into a merchant center digestible feed, much like what us paid media folks run on Merchant Center. In fact, it's exactly the same. They're going to be in there, and there's only so many spaces for someone to infiltrate. And because of the domain authority that a lot of these guys hold, um, we're facing a problem with impression share. So paid search professionals are recognizing a performance drop due to the same feeds running across, running ads across the dealer site and third-party sites. So here are some facts. Google will only show a singular VIN, so one particular car once in the GVA space. So let's talk about that for a second. So if one of our clients Anybody on the client success team have an example of a client that they know they run ads with us and then they also run ads with a third party?
Hoblet, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
Hoblet. Okay, so Hoblet CDJR sounds like they're in contract with a third party. So let's say they're signed on with us for GVAs, new, used, all that good stuff, which I'm pretty sure they are off the top of my head. They provide to us a product feed, right? So that product feed is processed by our lovely friend Brian into a feed that's digestible into Merchant Center, right? So we punch in that feed into Merchant Center, and then we connect that Merchant Center account to our Google Ads account, where the individual GVAs are served in this space, and that is served through a PMAX campaign. The same exact process happens with third party cargurus.com. They get the feed, they set up a Google Ads PMAX campaign. Um, little test right here. Maybe I don't know if Trent can answer this because it's his client. When we run an ad right here, let's say it says, Hoblet Jeep Dodge Ram. And the location is their location of where they're located. Say location one more time, Sarah. And then the same thing is listed on a third party site. If I clicked on this listing from us running the ads, where would the click go?
Wait, I'm sorry. If it was our ad, is your
If it was
question?
our ad, where does the click go?
BDP.
It goes to the client's website.
Yeah.
Correct. If the same, if a different car from Hoblet Jeep Dodge Ram shows up in the same space, but it's being run by cargurus.com, and the individual clicks on the ad, let's say it's this one, where does the click go?
To cars, to car
Cars,
gurus.
the third party site. Yes, exactly. Um, and then as Kelly has actually informed me, she is the guru of dealerships. So is Kevin, and I've learned a lot from you guys. The dealership is actively paying for that lead, right? So the feed lists on the third party site. Someone submits a form or I don't know, calls. I've never used these third party sites before, so I'm not sure how the customer journey goes. But I'm pretty sure that third party site will then say, hey, Hoblet, we got a lead, pay up if you want it, right? So they're not only paying for that cost per click to CarGurus or those third party sites, but they're paying for then the lead to come through. So now we're having a problem with overinflation with those impressions, right? Coming up and down, mostly up right now. That's what we're seeing in our performance fluctuation. But then they also have to pay that third party site to receive information on that lead. So, clients paying a lot of money. Some more facts. Google will only show a singular VIN once. So let's talk about that again. Because car gurus and these third party sites have such a high domain authority, I'm sure Butch can talk about this as well. That means there's more volume, there's more trust by Google, there's maybe higher, like quicker site speed because that's what their business is a website. So they're making sure that they have a full stack team of developers to ensure that their SEO is ship shape. Where we might run into some issues is that the client's website, maybe lower site speed time, much lower volume because that dealership space is only being searched for by folks in that area, where car gurus and cars.com, they're being searched for on a national, sometimes world level scale, right? So that's more volume, more trust with Google, more conversions, all that good stuff. Who's winning? Third party attribution or those third party sites, right? So the problem with that is Google says, okay, if I have the same Jeep Wrangler, right, running from the turnkey feed and running from cars.com, Google's going to say, I only can show one of that same VIN across this space. Who's it going to be? The one with a higher domain authority, most likely. Okay. So that's the problem we face. So Google relies heavily on landing page experience. We just talked about that. And the third-party sites are favored higher due to domain authority, load time, other landing page experience factors, et cetera, et cetera. Patrick, I see a question in the chat. Oh, nice, Stephanie. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. Keep going here. So some more facts. When a dealership is in contract with a third-party provider like a Cars.com or CarGurus, the listing is shown in GVAs of a VIN in the dealer's feed does not lead to the dealer website. We just talked about that. If the third-party site is listing a VIN from Huntington Beach, CDJR, the click takes the user to the listing on cars.com, not the dealer's website. So here's that example here. So I just wanted to show you guys an example of this search query. There we go. So Stephanie and I were doing some tests just to show you guys an example. No consumer is going to search like this. They're not going to do that long of a query. It's probably going to be something along the lines of 2023 Red Ram 2500. If they want a red one, cool. Maybe the color isn't even involved as much. I wish I knew the frequency of those search terms with PMAX campaigns. We can't really access that data right now. Huge bummer. I wish we could. But as we can see, what we did the test on is the actual name of the product within the feed, pulled it up in the search engine, right? We're hoping to see that pulled up. That is the exact name of the title within the feed that turnkey runs direct to the website. What comes up? Cars.com. Bummer. Huge performance dip. My conspiracy theory, and I'm trying to talk to somebody at Google about this, is the beta testers for this space, for GVAs, were these guys. AutoNation, Cars.com, CarGurus.com. They were the beta testers in this space. March 2023, we were allowed to run these direct to website. We were, if no one knows this, we were the first 10 dealerships, I think, in the country or in the world or something like that to be cleared to run these ads, which is a huge honor. That's really, really cool. Something to brag to your friends about over dinner. But we were one of the first ones to do it. But now what I'm thinking is these third-party guys are like, hey, Google, what's up, dude? Now it's infiltrated. It's an infiltrated space. Our impression share is going down. What's up? So I'm thinking that there's some sort of back end deal going on with Google. That's just a theory. I haven't confirmed it anywhere. But why would all of our PMAX campaigns that have nothing to do with each other, different locations, one's in Ohio, one's in LA, one's in Michigan, one's in Minnesota, they're all going down. What's up? We're not failing that hard as a team. We're not. There's just an impression share problem. That's what's going on. So budget goes up more. Cost per click starting to go up a little bit more. But this is just an example of what this looks like. I also hear that I'm talking about only problems and like, what's the solution, Sarah? Well, I'll get there in a second. So here's another example that Stephanie and I just pulled today. Another example of a 2021 Toyota 4Runner for sale in Van Nuys, California. This is actually the exact car that's running in our feed for Van Nuys CDJR. And as we can see, the first listing is AutoTrader. So we know that Van Nuys CDJR is running some sort of contract with AutoTrader located in Van Nuys. I don't know if we even see, oh, okay. Yeah. So it looks like they're in contract with CarGurus as well, probably. This is another 2024 Toyota 4Runner that's running from their feed. But CarGurus, gosh, that would like, even if they just had one contract with one of these guys, there's a chance that our listing would show up direct to website. Now they're not paying for the lead anymore. They're just paying for the cost per click. So that would have been really awesome. But anyway, there's that example there. I pulled this up from a reputable resource, and what I can do is I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I can go ahead and send this to everybody. This is an ex-Googler for 7.5 years, and he's pretty much confirming our theory here. So if you wanted to take a second to read that, but his solution is A/B test, right? So Kelly, I see you. Yeah, it doesn't. It actually goes. So Kelly's question in the chat is the RPM package, which is actually, I have a source for this guy right here. I think Kelly, you helped me pull this actually. RPM, this package that CarGurus is saying that they're running drives more high quality traffic to the dealership website. That is a lie. They run to cargurus.com. So that sucks. They're not running any ads to their website. If I was cargurus.com, I wouldn't either, because my whole primary function to gain revenue is to get lead money from my clients, right? From those dealerships. So that's really the information here. So any questions on everything I just talked about? I know this might be a bit of a short meeting today, but any questions so far? Cool. Yeah, I mean, one day I'd love to hear from the SEO team. Maybe we do an expert marketer meeting and We talk about how it infiltrates the SEO space too, and um, just domain authority and power pages and what they do to power up those pages, and how it affects landers. Stephanie.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it might be a good idea for us to kind of, for the benefit of our PMs on the call. So if you want to see what material impact this has, like to your clients' actual campaigns, you can go into any of the accounts, right, and set your date range to, I don't know, maybe like the last 30 days. It's a good chunk of data. And then you can go to your PMAX campaign, right? And then you can take a look at your auction insights. It defaults on this screen to search, right? But there's this drop down right below the calendar that you can switch it to shopping. And this shows you the auction insights for your GVAs only. And taking a look at this, you can see, okay, for Galp and Honda, all right, the biggest competitor for Galp and Honda's GVA impressions is Car Gurus. So they're literally competing against themselves. And when that happens, it drives up the cost on both accounts. So every click that this account is getting is a little bit more expensive than it ought to be. And every click that Car Gurus is getting for the same feed is a little bit more expensive than it really ought to be. So we're overpaying, getting less volume, and then if they click on the Car Gurus one, they're not even going to the dealer site, they're going directly to the Car Gurus landing page. And then we're kind of, our account is more or less left with like the scrap that's left over because of the difference in the landing page experience, right? AutoNation, AutoNation is just another dealer rooftop. It's not one of these aggregators. So this is, even if they turn off GVAs with their other providers, that will probably remain the same, right? But Carfax is another one that does it like Car Gurus, right? So Auto Trader, I don't think that the dealers use CarMax or Carvana, so those would probably stay the same as well. But cars.com, all of those are most likely running the same exact feed. And I know, Sarah has her professional opinions on, the whys behind some of this. And I think, those kinds of opinions are valuable, but without proof, they're not right or wrong. And honestly, I think my personal opinion is just slightly different in that I think that these aggregator sites have realized, like, oh wow, we can get way more leads by running these feed ads on Google and provide them and sell them back to these dealers at a cheaper cost than some of the traditional methods. So I think it's just a play for them to try to remain relevant, honestly. But it's at the disservice of our clients.
Right. I wanted to touch on one more thing too that Stephanie just pulled up. Those auction insights, um, I would caution our client success team and the sales team when educating your client about this. Stephanie's example that she pulled up had cars.com, Auto Trader, like all of them, like in a list, right? Like there was so many of them. Um, don't assume that the client is also running a contract with all of those guys. All this auction insight is saying is that there's one of two things happening here. One, they are competing against themselves. Like Stephanie said, that's very true. The other fact of the matter is, if you have a dealership near your client, let's say they're not running with an agency like us, but they're only running on those third parties, that's upping the impression for those third parties too, if that dealership has the same or similar inventory as our client does. Does that make sense? So it's just impressions for that car being listed on those sites. So it's not the same as saying that the client is also running a contract with all those guys. They could only be running it with one or two. So, but it's still going to be in the impression share. But so yeah, that's my little meeting today. Jonathan, one thing I'd love, just because I see you on the screen, one thing that might be complementary too is what you're seeing in GBP. So as a little complement to what we're talking about when it comes to just the GVA space in general. So let's pull up, let's do, uh,
While you're pulling that up, I'm just going to note that Malene had her hand up, and I think Kelly wanted to say something as well, just so
okay,
that we don't, so that we can get
yeah.
back to them.
Um, let's see. Okay, so I can finish this thought really quick, and then Malene, I'll have you go first. And I saw Butch trying to say something too. I think you were just muted. So we'll go Malene, Butch, Kelly. But yeah, so here's a vehicle feed, and this is actually a feature within GBP. Um, you'll notice, and I don't want to give away too much because I'd have to log in, but there is a way to tell the GBP feed when you're an editor of the GBP, which feed to pull these cars from. So if the GBP is connected to a cars.com, just as much as the GBP is connected to our team, and we could run ads, these clicks to the website versus if the GBP feed is connected to cars.com, these clicks on the client's GBP are going to go somewhere else. They're going to go to cars.com, right? So that's just another space where this concept is the same. And there's a way to edit those feeds that just completely blew my mind too. I had no idea. So this is all, again, informational, and I'm hoping that there's a path forward where client success and sales and our client-facing folks can kind of inform what's going on. Because the fact of the matter is, and I know Kelly will talk about this because she was so in deep with the dealership space, like in that realm, they're not going to stop their relationship with these guys. It would hurt their business too. But maybe there's a way to say, hey guys, we're going to keep your contract, but we don't want to run GVAs with you. We want to only run search. We want to only run whatever else they're doing. I don't know, direct mail. So that's the potential there. But Malene, take it away.
I think Kelly was first. So Kelly, you go ahead.
Okay, cool. Kelly.
I was just gonna note that a dealer can pay to be on this third party run ads for me so that they show up more. So whether if it's the cars.com, and I think with the cars and Auto Trader both, you get the GVAs, but you also get like retargeting on Facebook and things like that. With the RPM, it is pretty much just the Google Shopping section that you're accessing there. But if a dealer isn't paying for that upgraded thing at $2,000, $3,000 a month, they are also still going to have their inventory show up if they are using that third party. The third party is that it's harder to get leads than ever, and so to get more leads, they are spending more money to show up where they can see more people get seen and drive that traffic. So a dealer cannot opt out of having their inventory utilized in this way. However, like Sarah said, you you're not going to want to go, well, then you shouldn't be on Car Guru or you shouldn't be on Auto Trader, because as I'm going through with a client right now who apparently decided to leave Auto Trader when signing with us to do the shopping ads as well as the TikTok ads, they pulled money and left Auto Trader to come to us back in March after the NADA, and they told me this morning that we still haven't regained the traffic that they had before when they were with Auto Trader. So, that said, you don't want to really suggest that they leave those places where they are getting a lot of visibility. And I will close with the fact that the third parties are mostly going to be pushing used vehicles because it's a much more competitive space, more so than new vehicles. So if you're trying to decide what to do and people are asking to be there, maybe you can kind of push them towards running new PMAX and backing off of the used.
That's insightful for sure. Yeah. And at the end of the day, too, like, unless we get some real cost data breakdown of what part, like as I'll step back a second. PMAX, as we all know, is an all-in-one campaign in Google Ads, right? You give the asset group some text ads, you give it some headlines and descriptions. You connect the feed. That's where the PPC team primarily runs those shopping ads, those GVA ads. We can't run it in a traditional shopping campaign anymore for vehicle ads. You give it display assets, you give it those graphics, right? It's an all-in-one campaign. But yeah, I think it would if we're running a PMAX campaign, we're gonna connect the feed anyway, right? We're gonna give it used cars. Because there's no proof in the pudding about if giving the PMAX campaign a feed is costing us more. It would just behoove us to put the impressions in there anyway, right? And I also know, Kelly, you're not combating that, but I'm saying it just makes sense for us to run it instead of us saying, well, Car Gurus is going to win. We may as well not put a feed on your used PMAX campaign, right? So, we're also not suggesting that. So, it's just funky. It's just super funky right now. Malene?
Yeah, you're right. This is very funky. Me and Kelly discussed this with Hideo like a month ago. Yeah, maybe like even month and a half. One of the concerns, so if they stop running their GVAs with carburos or whatever it is, and we know that Google prioritizes carburos GVAs most of the time. So what if I'm searching for around 2024 1500, and then it shows so I stopped running with carburos. So instead of like me going into that action, my dealership is just going to show all of my competitors because of carburos. So that way they're going to lose like even that expensive lead that they could get from carburos. So that's another concern that they had, and I'm scared that all of them have that concern. So how
If they're
should
paying a premium to run those ads though, so if they're paying an extra $1,000 a month for Car Gurus to run those ads,
Mhm.
then I would say, okay, we'll turn it off and send that $1,000 to somewhere else or to the PMAX campaign so that you can show up more often, right? And then with that same $1,000, like it's going to go much further because those leads are being directed directly to the site. And on that note too, like Kelly, I know you kind of mentioned that they can't just turn it off. Um, Drake is under the impression that that is possible. So I do think that we have maybe some disconnect here of information that we're functioning under. So I mean, I think we can, work through that offline. But yeah, I mean, maybe it can be turned off for some and not for others, right? I'm not sure. But I think it's in our client's best interest to figure out the answer to those questions, for sure.
She said that she's not paying any extras for that.
Okay. Got it.
So I really don't know what's the best solution for this is.
Yeah. And then Butch, did you have something too?
I was just saying, when you mentioned we can SEO and PPC, we can look at the sites and look at their domain authority. I said, yeah, we can
Yeah.
do that.
Sweet. I like it. I'm concerned about that data that we're gonna find, but that's just me. Um, Well, cool, guys. Yeah, thanks for gathering. I know this is more beneficial for some rather than others, but I think what's great about these meetings is that just picking up tidbits from different departments and digesting them and taking them in as you guys function in your own departments separately, I think it's helpful in some ways. So that's all I had today, and that was kind of a quick meeting. But yeah, no housekeeping item today. I couldn't think of something silly that we could talk about. But yeah, I think the next one that we'll have actually is next week. And apologies for moving this one so much, but I'm just gonna have to accept that not everybody can make it, which totally makes sense. Next week we have All Things Ninja Cat, hosted by our lovely Melanie and Miranda. This will be super helpful for everybody. I'm stoked for it. Ninja Cat's so cool. I've looked into it already, and some of the reporting dashboards are so juicy and cool. So hopefully you guys can all make it for that. If not, we'll record it and we'll put it in the Zoom chat. So stopping